Hey everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. This is Lettermen Live, brought to you by our good friends at Roosters. It is another virtual hangout for a fun, casual conversation about the Ohio State Buckeyes and about this delicious meal that I picked up online ordering, available at Roosters. We have Nicole Cox here to kick off the show with our partner from Roosters, Justin Zwick and Jeremy Birmingham. You know those guys. We'll get to them. But Nicole, thanks so much for hanging out and updating us on what you guys are doing in the community and helping keep me fed and a lot of other people with the different ways you guys are trying to manage this crisis.
You are so sweet. Thank you so much for ordering from us, Austin. We really, really appreciate it. We kind of all talked about the good thing that's come from this. We finally launched online ordering. So it's going well, working through the kinks, but it's very exciting. And we are, taking all of this, just the precautions very seriously. I don't know if you noticed when you went to pick up your food, we have the markers for the 6 feet apart. We have different entrances for online ordering and just phone in orders. We have sanitized pens and pens that need to be sanitized. I mean, we're just trying to do as much as we can to keep everybody as safe as possible. So it's definitely different times.
The way that you guys are always giving back in the community and treating, we miss the waiters and waitresses that we had on our show on Mondays. I know that it's a tough time for everybody. How significant has the adjustment been for you all to try and get through this, and how great has the support back to Roosters been from the community here?
Honestly, I get emotional thinking about how appreciative we are to the entire community for all their support through this. It is so heartwarming. It's heartwarming. I get texts from people that just, like you right now, Austin, with your food sitting there. It just means the world, because we're trying to keep afloat, and we want to make sure our team is taken care of. And, that's the hardest part. They're family to us. So everyone ordering carryout helps that, which is just absolutely amazing. We are just so, so appreciative. And it just means the world to us.
What's left there to do? Like you've mentioned this before. We know Jay-Z just got back from the cruise in February, and everyone was raving about all the money you raised and how the next goal the next $1 million that you're going to get next year. How are you guys trying to balance staying in business with how much you give back charitably?
This is the first time to even consider where, we get food requests and things like that. And we want to give back as much as possible. Honestly, we have had some amazing vendors, some of our vendors that provide our products to us, make some donations for us to be able to donate to hospitals and feed healthcare workers, first responders, things like that. And we're just so appreciative to them. We're still planning on having our annual golf outing. It's August 21st, but as of right now, hoping that's going to happen. And so we can raise money. And I guess we're brainstorming other ways too, that if this doesn't, let up, how we're going to raise money for the cruise. But I know we'll be able to. We just have to come up with some more unique ideas.
Yeah. The great thing right now is that I'm still allowed to play golf. So hopefully that August 21st date comes on. I know that there was debate back and forth. Is it socially acceptable, social distance wise, to go play golf? And so far they've found a way to do it. So let's hold out hope that we at least get one, right? And
I know.
2 weeks before the season starts. So hopefully everybody can take care of business by then.
We hope so. So, yeah.
All right, Nicole, we'll let you go because we don't need to bore you with
No, guys, thank you so much for having us on. It's so great to see people.
Yeah, right?
This Monday afternoon, hey, it was always my favorite thing to go to Roosters and talk and eat the food, but I'll pick it up and settle for Zoom right now. It's the best we can do.
It's great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Nicole.
Have a good one.
See you, Nicole. All right, we're going to let Spencer Holbrook jump in here and complete the foursome. As I said, Birm, Jay-Z, now Spencer here. It's another Monday with no spring football. Jay-Z, you guys were teasing me about how excited I was about there being spring football right before it started, and you guys were like, "No, cancel it. We don't need it." You'd miss it so bad if you were playing, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it just is. I couldn't imagine being, a student athlete at this point in time. It's just like, what the heck can we do? What are we supposed to do? I mean, as a quarterback, I did a thing with Channel 6 a couple weeks ago when it first started saying, like, how big is this for these guys? And it's huge, because you had Justin Fields coming back for a second year, these young receivers who were going to get all this work done in the springtime. And I don't know that they can do that. I mean, maybe you get one or two guys to go out to the field somewhere outside and throw with them, but it's not the same. So it would be wild to, no school or online school and, no workouts and it's craziness.
Justin, you have two early enrolled true freshmen in CJ Stroud and Jack Miller who got to campus in January, started, spring practice, got 3 practices in, and then had to put it on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
These are two guys that are going to be competing with Gunnar Hoke as the backup quarterback to Justin Fields at Ohio State. The way that the conference is, the way the schedule is, the way that the program is built, that second team guy is getting a lot of real playing time in the season probably.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I mean, when you come in early like those, a lot of guys are doing nowadays, you do that expecting to get those reps, to get that experience of, all right, I'm going to be this much ahead of everybody else that comes into my class because I was here. I went through all these practices. I know what it takes to make it through, a practice, a workout, any of that stuff that is going to be different for them. And they just aren't getting it. So, I mean, they're, probably going back to what they had been doing, workouts on their own or, before they got to Ohio State. They got a taste of what the coaches expected. So maybe they changed the workouts a little bit, to cater to an Ohio State workout. But, they are missing out. It's big because that second, like you said, they're going to play. That second team more than likely is going to play a lot. And, you never know. You're one snap away at that point in time. So for these young guys to not be getting this experience is just unfortunate for them. And, you talk about the young quarterbacks, you got young receivers who everybody was talking about when they, signed and came early, and those guys are in the same boat.
Justin, when you look at it, so that because they were enrolled, they at least get to, do the FaceTime stuff with Corey Dennis. They can call Ryan Day and they can do some, virtual learning the same way that we're on Zoom right now talking. But,
that's not the same.
Receivers to throw to, like those reps are more important, but like, how would you evaluate that? Is it significant enough that they get to still break down film, or they have?
Yeah, I mean, I think film work, right now for them probably is more. All right, let's get in the playbook. We're gonna hit this section this week. We're gonna hit this section, and they're gonna know that like the back of their hand. And so when it comes to the field, they're gonna say, all right, man, I've been through this a million times because we had nothing else to do. If it's cover 2, I'm reading front side. If it's cover 3 or something else, I'm going backside. On every. All those different scenarios that they could go through. And you could do that now. Corey could get up. You could probably have the chalkboard up there and, have guys watching, laser in, showing them different things, on film. Film is great and it's nice, but it's not actually getting out there and doing it. Yeah. So, they just got to take advantage and try and learn as much as possible, do what they can and just feel going into the summer, if there is a camp, like, hey, we got this playbook down. We're not worried about that. I can, if they signal me a play, I can recite that whole thing back. Because a lot of times with these young quarterbacks, you get, trips right up, you get 8 different words, and they get into the huddle like, crap, what was that last part? These guys having that time now to just have nothing else to do but study the playbook should feel a little bit more comfortable once they get into, a camp where they're calling plays and being in the huddle with the guys.
Yeah, I figured since we hadn't had you in for a while that this would be a quarterback-heavy show, Justin.
I like it.
And we didn't have the spring game on Saturday. We tried our best to have a mock one. Birm and I drafted.
Yeah, I like that. That was good.
I think we all know who won. We can get to that later. For me, I wanted to see CJ Stroud and Jack Miller, though, because, after one day, that Monday early in March, I thought CJ Stroud looked way ahead of where I thought most – early enrollee quarterbacks have been at Ohio State. How far could he come? Would Jack Miller have improved over those ensuing 14 practices? Of course, he probably would. Spencer, for you, was it the quarterbacks you were most interested in seeing, or was there some other position that you really wanted to be there in the shoe on Saturday to see?
Well, I wanted to watch some running backs because there was only one available, and I wanted to see if Steel Chambers had made any progress. Yeah, and I wanted to see if Steel Chambers had made any progress. But then the other side of the quarterback's coin is you've got the quarterbacks probably throwing into a young secondary, and there's some young guys out there trying to make some plays against young receivers. So, it's one thing to see, win or loser at practice. It's another thing to go into the horseshoe and have G. Scott line up against Ryan Watts and see who wins that battle. So I think there's a big part of this secondary that's going to be, hey, you missed the spring. Now you've got to turn it on in the fall, because I think the secondary is missing out the most from not having spring practice. I was really looking forward to seeing what Kerry Combs did with that unit throughout the entire spring, and it really is a bummer that we didn't get to see that on Saturday.
Yeah, and those young guys in that secondary, think about coming in with a new coach, Kerry, coming back.
Yeah.
What do we expect out of this guy? They got a couple of days of him, and they get to do this kind of stuff with him now, but that's not the same as seeing him, in a scrimmage setting or, something along those lines where it's like, oh, all right, we got to turn this up a little bit.
And even then, you've got the older guys that were recruited by Kerry. You've got Marcus Williams and you've got those other, Tyreek Johnson, who maybe they latched on to Kerry and made some progress that they hadn't made in the first few years in the program. Now those practices are all gone, and you don't know how they're going to react when it's another fall camp and you don't get those extra spring practices. I really hope the NCAA wises up and gives some of these programs practices back that they didn't get, because that secondary, I think, needs as much practice as it can get. Not that it's going to be bad. I just think when you have inexperience and you have, if you look on paper, a lack of depth, you need some practice time. I think the secondary could use it really badly.
Yeah, have you guys heard anything about, like the NCAA saying, now granted, I guess we don't know, but maybe 5 practices in the middle of the summertime, something to get the guys together to, since they didn't get that spring. Is there any kind of talk like that maybe going around?
Right now, all the conversation is still what more are you going to lose as opposed to what you're going to gain back. And that's kind of the hard part. I mean, you've seen that they've made these adjustments, and now the recruiting visits will be off until at least June 1, but that's going to extend. I mean, there's almost no doubt in my mind that's going to extend through June, probably into July. And, then you just don't know how to balance it, because as you know, high school practices and camps are starting middle of July. Mm-hmm. How do you get these kids on campus? How do you get your kids back on campus if the general population of students isn't on campus? Like there's just so many question marks right now, more than there are answers. And I think that's frustrating everyone.
I think that there is a consensus, Justin, that coaches and administrators are asking for that. They know that they need to tackle it. But Gene Smith, for instance, gave a conference call update on Friday, detailing kind of the process for them at this point. And they can't commit to one model over another for scheduling. They don't know, when you're going to be allowed to have gatherings of 100 people, which, you play, your roster is not just the 85 scholarship guys, which on its own is going to be a problem, but you have the walk-ons, you have the coaching staff, you have the nutritionists.
Trainers and everybody, yeah.
So, football is going to be – it's the most important for college campuses to bring back because of the money that's at stake, but it's also the most challenging. And as you said, just getting them – they all want the extra practices. They know that it's important to have guys physically ready to play this demanding sport, but you don't know when that date's going to be. It's impossible to predict. As we sit right here on April 13th, we've got to get one milestone checked and another checked with,
got to be able to leave our house first, right?
And beyond that, they're going to debate, if you're still doing virtual learning, can you safely bring college athletes back to your campus without, giving up the guys that they're not, employees to make money for people. So all these things are difficult to answer. And I think what my point with what Gene Smith was trying to say was, we all have to just be patient right now. There's things that they want. They want those practices back. Coaches want them. Administrators and Gene Smith, athletic department, they want to have the games on time, because that's a $210 million budget for Ohio State. That's almost all coming from football. They can't go without it. Players, they want to play the game. Yep. So all these things are warring with the fact that we're dealing with an unprecedented situation. And, to sit here and predict it, it's almost impossible, because we don't, a month ago, we would have never dreamed that this was the position that we'd be in. So,
yeah, I think the big thing is making sure that you are reacting appropriately, but not going too far ahead and getting, because you can't really walk things back. Once you say you can't start practice until September 1st, you can't really walk that back 2 months from now. So like, you have to be prudent in making these decisions, but you also have to be patient and understand every day things seem to play out a little bit differently, and, understand that things in Columbus, Ohio are not the same as they are in Michigan or New York or Atlanta. So like, how do you make it equitable and fair across the board? So I just don't think that we're anywhere close to getting those answers.
It's crazy how this works. Like, sometimes I plan the show, what we're going to talk about. I'm like, this week, we're not going to make any mention of the pandemic. We're just going to talk about football stuff in the spring game. But it's really impossible, right? Like, this has so dramatically changed all of our lives that any conversation is inevitably going to go that way. Yeah. But I'm going to try to stop it and get it under control now. It's fair that we talk about it every week, and what we've heard, the latest, we've got to do that. Justin made a great point to bring that up. But beyond, that, I think it's important to remember how badly I destroyed Birm in the spring game draft. I don't want to gloss it over, but Birm has fought over and over that, if it hadn't been Justin Fields, that he outdrafted me. That doesn't matter.
I did outdraft you. It's not a fight. The reality is, and why don't you admit to the world that you were afraid to put out a poll that said, if both teams had Justin Fields, who would win? You were afraid.
Well, that's part of the draft, though. You got to get the best guy, right?
Well, that has nothing to do with the draft. That's just getting lucky on the coin flip.
Birm, if every team had Tom Brady in the NFL, who would win? I don't know, because only one team's got him. It's not.
Spencer, we're talking purely hypothetical. If Justin Fields was the all-time quarterback, who would have won the game? My team would have won.
Well, I would have got to draft first then, and you wouldn't have had Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison. So
that's okay.
How many hypotheticals do you want? Just take
I want one
and move on to the next question.
I want one hypothetical.
Take the butt whooping and move on.
I mean, it's whatever. It's as I told Austin in our Slack that day. It was like he got to draft Thanos and then got to still pick half of the Avengers, and that seems unfair.
Anyway,
everyone knows that once you got the number one pick, that your team was going to win, because there is no way you can match up the Ohio State roster person for person when you have Justin Fields on one side. It's impossible.
I definitely would have drafted a better roster than you if the situation had been reserved.
Here's my question, Justin Zwick. This is for you. Do you remember the jump between your first year of playing full-time in college to the second, like mentally, emotionally, maturity? How important was that for you, and why should Buckeye fans be nuts excited about what Justin Fields should be this year?
I year to year, in my sophomore year, 2004 was, my first time playing. I remember my first snap as a freshman. I thought, holy shit, these guys are men. What am I doing here? But that was when I first came in from high school.
Right.
After you get some games under your belt and you start to feel comfortable with Justin in the way that he played last year, I think he's just – I wouldn't be surprised if he's calling some of his own plays. I mean, that's where I feel like he should be, going into this next year, and, having 2 years with Ryan Day and kind of understanding how he wants his offense to be run, the idea of what they're trying to do on each series. Hey, we want to run some clock here. We want to try and score big here or quick here. Just those types of things. I think as a quarterback and a coach having 2 years together, they're on that same wavelength. I think that's huge, and that's something that Ryan hasn't had this whole time. Ever, yeah. So, I mean, I expect Justin, and that's what I was hoping, with spring ball, to kind of just, hey, we're down on running backs. Let's let Justin just go and see how he handles, throw the kitchen sink at him this spring, see how he handles it, so we know going into the season what we can rely on, let him kind of give him some leeway with. Or do we need to pull him back a little bit and still kind of maintain, our grip on the offense? And I expect Justin, though, to do the first and take off and just really have a great understanding of what they're trying to do. and getting all those playmakers involved. And, you know, I really expect him to just blow up. It's hard to say blow up because he blew up last year. You know, he had a great year.
We're talking about Heisman Trophy finalists already.
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard to say that, but, you know, he really could. I mean, just become that guy where it's just like, Ryan could be like, I don't know, Justin, you called that series. What were you thinking there? What were you doing? I mean, that could be something that we could get into here, and that would be a lot of fun. And as a quarterback, you know, my senior year in high school, I called plays, and it was awesome. You know, the coach just trusted me. You know, I knew what he was thinking, and you know, that sort of thing. And I called most of our plays in practice. I called most of our games, you know, or plays during the game. And I mean, as a quarterback, there's nothing better than that.
All right, so Birm, let's take Justin Fields off the table for a second, okay?
Sure.
If we'd had a draft and I couldn't take Justin Fields, and all four of us got to pick the number one guy, who do you think is the number one pick for Ohio State after Justin Fields? Who would you build around? Spencer, we'll start with you.
Wait a second. Hold on. Time out. We need parameters. We talking about building for this year or building a program?
This
for the
year.
spring game.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Spencer. Give us the wrong answer.
Oh, no, I'm starting with Jonathan Cooper because he can get to the passer and he's a leader of a defense. I think you can build a defense around a pass rusher like him, and you need some leadership on your team when you get into a close game. And I think if we all get to pick evenly, I'm pretty sure, you know, with Justin Fields off the table, these are going to be two evenly matched teams. You're going to need some leadership. I'm going to take the fifth-year leader. I'm going to take the pass rusher. I got Jonathan Cooper.
I did not see that coming.
That's where my mind went. For a spring game, I always wanted an edge rusher because when you're splitting that offensive lineup, I know how this goes all too well, unfortunately. You can get hit a lot. You get to the quarterback in a spring game, and that's all you need to do. So I was thinking somebody like, you know, Harrison or, you know, Cooper, somebody like that as well.
And you can go with a younger guy like a Tyree Smith.
That's why in our actual draft, when he did get Justin Fields, my first two picks were Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison. Because I wanted the edge. I wanted the edge on the edge. But I would probably go with what Austin's third pick was, which would be Wyatt Davis. I'd start interior line building out. So that's where I'd go.
Yeah,
him or Olave is probably – I'd go back and forth between those two.
Playmaker.
I think in a spring game setting, you got to build like we've seen the pass rushers completely change it and make it almost irrelevant what was happening out there. I think 1 year with Noah Spence out there and maybe Adolphus Washington, like 7 or 8 sacks, and it was like they didn't accomplish anything really.
Well, remember Joe Burrow's spring game 3 years ago? Like everyone was like, "Okay, see ya." This guy can't play at all.
Yeah.
What about Justin Fields' spring game last year?
I mean, spring games for quarterbacks are not always the best evaluator.
No doubt about it.
So for me, if I had to go a different direction, and it almost doesn't matter who's throwing him the football, you want Garrett Wilson out there just to, you know, he's the spring game stage. That's really where he jumped out and showed everybody why he was a 5-star last year with that incredible touchdown out there and on a nice day. And it's really sad that we didn't get to see an encore for that. And hopefully next year, his last year, maybe he won't even need to play in that spring game probably, but we'll get to see some of that. And I would have given some strong consideration to Shaun Wade too. And he's probably another guy with the health. You know, he was limited early in camp. Who knows how far along he would have gotten that in recovery, you know, by last Saturday. But, you know, we talked right off the top of the show about the importance of the secondary and the young guys. And, you know, if the football is going to be thrown around a lot, I want Shaun Wade in coverage. I would have felt pretty good about that.
You know, I think that there's as we talked about last week when we drafted those teams, like there's so many ways you could go. And so many talented guys. Olave, to me, is the leader of the wide receivers and has probably a fairly large chip on his shoulder after the way the season ended. You know, but then you have guys like Josh Myers, who's the best center in football. And you have, again, Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison and Pete Warner and Tuff Borland, who are three-year starters at linebacker. So, I mean, the program is so loaded that we're going to stay quarterback-centric here, I guess. But that's what makes it crazy how much better Justin Fields' ceiling is than everyone else on the team. Like, That's freakish. And I mean, before Justin Fields ever took a snap at Ohio State, I told people that he was a combination of Braxton Miller and Dwayne Haskins, and a lot of people thought I was an idiot. People think I'm an idiot for a lot of reasons, but
just leave on the tee for us. How about that?
For you, Jay-Z, like when you look back and you were playing with Troy and you've watched quarterbacks at Ohio State in the last 15 years since, like what do you see? Who like those games or those graphics where they build a quarterback and they put like the arm of this person, the legs of this person? Like who do you see with Justin Fields?
I think you hit it on the head for the most part. When he first was coming, before I got to see him play or anything, I was thinking a Terrell Pryor type guy. Bigger dude, fast, can run. But then when he got here and he threw the ball as well as he did, TP couldn't throw the ball like that. So, you had to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I like where you're at with – Braxton, of course, was much faster, quicker, whatever, this or that. But Justin is right there, and he throws a great ball just like Dwayne. I think that for the last for what we saw last year, really recruit quarterbacks like that back in the day. So there was a bunch of big white dudes like me who just stood in the pocket and wanted to throw the ball. So it's hard to go too far back, but I think you got it pretty good there.
All right, I could keep talking. It's so great to catch up with you guys. Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. I could keep you all day, but there's people
your food's going to get cold
at home that don't really want me to sit here and talk about football all afternoon. So I will let you go. Appreciate Nicole Cox.
I gotta tell Birm. I got my buddies said to keep on Wasserman. They said they love it when you're getting on him.
I love Ari.
I told my guys. I said, you got anything that you want us to talk about? I don't know what we're gonna do today. And his first thing was said, tell Birm to keep getting on Wasserman.
Don't tell Ari that.
It's too late now. It's out there.
Oh man,
hey, it's all right.
We're gonna have to.
It's all in fun.
It came up last week too, like with what Ari's been talking about with the talent gap and all that. We have a lot of shows left to do, so maybe we'll be able to get Ari in here so he can give his case. We'll see if the Athletic lets that happen, because that's been the great feud of this shutdown so far. Ari against basically everybody else, but
that's the thing. He's not wrong, but he's not right.
Save it. We got another show coming next Monday.
Next Monday.
Yeah,
next Monday. We'll be right back here. I'm going to get some more mac and cheese bites to Tom Birm. I'm going to eat those right now. Thanks to Spencer Holbrook, Nicole Cox from Roosters, Jeremy Birmingham, and Justin Zwick. Good to have him back in here with us for the first time in a while to talk some quarterbacks. I am just Austin Ward. This has been Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Lettermen Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buckeye IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Birm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.